Karl Popper. Perhaps more than any other person, this philosopher set out the scheme over a number of years in a variety of books on the topic. His books were never called critical thinking, and perhaps that is why they are not as well known in educational circles as they should be. In fact, he never explicitly talked much at all about learning, even though the content is explicitly about knowledge creation. Instead, he wrote books titled The Logic of Scientific Discovery and Conjectures and Refutations and Objective Knowledge, and he has come to be known as a philosopher of science and politics. And of course, his contributions in those areas were as fundamentally groundbreaking and objectively progressive as Einstein's were in physics or Mozart's were in music. But for education, as I say, he explained how knowledge is created. That is, how learning can take place. And importantly for my purposes here, what the critical method actually is. His philosophy has come to be known as critical rationalism. And that is the philosophy of critical thinking. If he wrote Conjectures and Refutations today, he could quite easily retitle it without any loss of meaning to Creativity and Criticism. Something like that. Be a bit more fashionable. But it is to me astonishing that Popper's critical rationalism does not now inform how cultures, communities, families, parents, and dare we say schools and universities help to improve learning. Children are, of course, natural learners. They are learning machines. They go out into the world and without any hang-ups, or extremely few, without any fear, or with very little, guess and check. They experiment. The only reason they, or any of us, slow down is because we, like they, eventually learn ideas from authorities about what to be fearful of, what is the wrong thing to do, why to be scared and who should be listened to, and therefore why some things should not be tried out and tested. Over years and then decades, the ballast of all that bad, anti-rational, anti-critical ideas are learned, taken on board, and then finally frame what a person feels they are permitted to think about and therefore learn. So some kind of explicit thinking about critical thinking can help later on to undo perhaps some of this. Popper got there. Popper identified how knowledge is created and therefore how learning must operate. But it is all written in a sort of ideal sense. It is in the sense of, if you do not have what are called these hang-ups, things you do not like thinking about or doing, these are caused by what David Deutsch terms anti-rational memes. Ideas that hold themselves immune from criticism. Identifying and correcting those, well, that is very hard, and we would need yet another podcast all about that. As new as critical rationalism is on the scene, so new it barely gets any mention in any form whatever in the formal educational institutions, despite being the theory of learning, as I say, the concept of anti-rational memes is newer still.